the Kings are linked to Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. They're expected to lose Malik Monk, and this team is kind of locked into Domantas Sabonis and Mr. De'Aaron Fox. So I think they just want to go balls to the wall. And what we're hearing from Matt Moore of Action Network is the report is the Sacramento Kings are going back to the well with the same trade package they offer Toronto twice for OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. It's Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and draft pick compensation. They've known to have calls with the Chicago Bulls about Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. And let's be honest, you're not getting Kyle Kuzma for that. Like, maybe you could get Kyle Kuzma. Okay, let's just sit here and let's talk about this, because this is the Bulls first. Let's talk about what the trade could look like. We're gonna pull up Fanspo's trade machine to showcase what this trade could look like, because I think we need to really show that this is probably the best deal they're going to be able to get. It's not because those players suck, it's just what the market is. And I think like I said, the Kuzma deal is the only other player that they could maybe go after, maybe a Jeremy Grant. I just don't see any huge marquee trade being available for them that's going to improve them as much as taking a flyer on Mr. Zach LaVine and bringing in Caruso and hoping that combination just works out better, plus bringing LaVine back home to Cali. He went to UCLA. I'm pretty sure he's a Cali kid, but either way, yeah, he's a Cali kid. So let's look at what this deal could look like, and I just want to make sure you can see everything. Now let me just go down a little bit. There you go. Okay, so everything can be seen. We're gonna go Sacramento. So let's look at what the base deal would look like money wise. So if we're gonna put together Caruso, Herter, Harrison Barnes, we're gonna assume that they're gonna offer this year's pick, because they're like, screw this, we don't care for this pick. And then they'll be like, oh, we expect to be good next year, so we'll give you next year's pick. Here's 2 picks. So they would be sending out $34 million, the Kings, and the Bulls would be sending 52. So the Bulls right now would be saving basically $18 million, $17 million in this deal, and it works. It straight up works. I think this is the most realistic variation of this trade. Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, the 13th pick. The pick in 2026, because they expect they'll be good for the next 2 years, for Caruso and Zach LaVine. They bite the bullet on Zach LaVine in his contract because there is arguably no other player that has his ceiling, which you're thinking, what is Zach LaVine's ceiling? Okay, well, let me remind you what Zach LaVine's accolades are. Zach LaVine, is an all-star. Zach LaVine, besides that, is a guy who, how many times has he averaged 20 points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. He has a career average of 20 points, and he's also a guy that has averaged basically almost over 25 points 5 times in his career, 4 times in his career, 4 years, and averaged 27 points in 1 season. He used to be kind of good at defense when he tried, and he can do a little bit of facilitating. He's just like, there is no player available in all of the NBA who offensively can give you what Zach LaVine can give you. Realistically, there is nobody in the NBA that is as prolific of a scorer as Zach LaVine is, and available as cheap as you'll probably give. And you know what the crazy thing is I think you're over the 2 first round picks isn't really for Zach LaVine. It's really for you're taking on it's really for Caruso, because Caruso's awesome. So if anything, the only other way I could see this deal being maybe a little bit different is you throw in Sasha Venzikov, okay? Because he wants out, and it's a foreign, team. You throw in maybe Javon Carter because they didn't play him whatsoever. Add in Davion Mitchell. You take off this 26 first rounder. You only give him 1 first round pick. Maybe you throw him a bone. You probably want your second, but you throw him a bone in. You give him 2 seconds in next year's draft, and what are we looking at number? You're giving out 4 players, you're getting back 3. Money's still 12 million. I'm trying to see if they have any contracts they're just trying to dump. And at this point, there's no other contracts that they would want to dump in terms of players, because everybody else I think they like. Yeah, there's nobody that they realistically would want to move on from. And I think they would want to, yeah, I think they would want to keep Torrey Craig. Unless like you want to throw in Chris Duarte for Torrey Craig and just do some big old swap just to get the team a little bit more vetty on the Kings part. This deal works right here. I think this one's the most wild, but the way that this deal would end up being, okay, Kings go like, we also want to get a bit more veteran. Sasha being a foreign player, the GM of the Bulls is Carnisovas is his name, right? Arthur's. He'll be like, oh, Sasha, come here. Well, I'll help you. And then Davion Mitchell, they'll have his restricted free agency next year, and they try to resurrect him. Chris Duarte, he's a bust, but like they get a flyer, and they also get his restricted free agency. Only 1 first-round pick in this case. It's this year's, but they get 2 second-round picks. Zach LaVine and Caruso, plus Javon Carter, who didn't really play, and then Torrey Craig to replace all of that. So, and in this case, the money isn't as big of a jump for both teams, and they all have contracts. I feel like that one's like a little bit more realistic. But just to show you like the other deals, who else could they, we've talked about the Wizards, okay? The Wizards are only going to give you Kuzma. Like, Zach LaVine's a better scorer than Jordan Poole and more consistent. So right here, they're not going to give you Denny Avdia. You would literally, the best deal you could do right here is Kuzma. This would straight up, you would have to give up assets. You would have to give up more picks for this deal. Money-wise, it works. Money-wise, it works, but you'd have to give up 2 to 3 first-round picks because of how good of a contract Kyle Kuzma's on. There is no PJ Washington. They're looking for like at least a PJ Washington. Realistically, the Zach LaVine's the best guy. They're looking for Pascal Siakam or an OG Anunoby type guy, and there's no one available there. All right. DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanovic are available. Those are the only. I don't think Bogdan wants to go back to Sacramento. But for example, if he were, I don't even think they're doing this deal because they're not going to trade back for Kevin Huerter. That'd be insanity. That'd be insanity. So the only other one I could think of, you're going to go to the Heat and be like, hey, how does Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson sound if Kevin Huerter and go in? This works. I don't know if you can't aggregate players, so technically you have to do too simple, but you'd have to give up picks because Tyler, this is the only other deal I could think that's as real. Like, and I don't even think Miami would do this unless they really want to get off Tyler Hero and Duncan's contracts. But again, I don't know what you could do.